The wind rushed down from the Montana mountains at November evening in 1847, carrying the cold bite of coming snow. Cedar Falls sat at the base of those mountains, a rough little town where gossip traveled faster than horses and lingered longer than smoke. Inside Murphy's saloon, men filled the room with loud laughter, whiskey breath, and the sharp slap of cards hitting tables. The pot-bellied stove glowed red, but the cold still pushed through the cracks in the walls. Silas Grizzly McGrath sat alone at the bar, hunched over his glass. At 35, he lived most of his life up in the mountains, away from people, away from noise, away from judgment. His massive frame made the bar stool groan every time he shifted. His beard was thick and wild, and his buckskin coat was worn thin at the shoulders. People didn't bother him. In fact, most men gave him space like he was a real bear that had wandered in from the pines. Jake Murphy, the saloon keeper, lifted the whiskey bottle again. Another one. Silas? Silas pushed his glass forward with one finger. Yeah. The whiskey burned like fire, but he welcomed the heat. It quieted the loneliness he never admitted out loud. Behind him, the poker table got louder. Tom Garrett, the town's loudest fool, slammed his cards down and let out a wild laugh. I swear, boys, she near broke the church pew last Sunday. Had to scoot clear to the other end to keep from rolling into her. The men roared. Silas didn't look, but he knew exactly who they meant. Abigail Thompson. The biggest woman in town, they called her Big Abigail. Hefty Abby. The Thompson Cow. Cruel names meant to make men feel big. Silas clenched his glass, jaw tight. Another voice chimed in. She's got more weight than my prize hog. And that hog took first place at the county fair. Laughter exploded again. Jake Murphy shook his head while polishing a glass. They ought to be ashamed. She's a good woman. Silas grunted. He'd seen Abigail many times during supply runs. She kept the general store running after her father died, worked harder than anyone in town, and carried herself with a quiet dignity no one deserved to mock. Her brown eyes were warm, even when the world wasn't. But the men in Cedar Falls were cruel, especially when drunk. Hey, Grizzly, Tom Garrett suddenly yelled. You're the only man big enough to handle Big Abigail. What do you say? Knee a woman up in that mountain shack of yours. More laughter. Silas turned slowly on his stool. His head felt heavy from whiskey, his blood hot with anger. Leave off Tom, someone muttered. But Tom smelled entertainment. He stood up, swaying. No, boys. Listen here. I got $20, says Grizzly McGrath ain't got the stones to court Big Abigail. Silas stared at him, eyes narrowing. Tom grinned wide. What's wrong, Grizzly? Scared of a big woman. More money hit the table. $30, $40, $50. Silas stood, towering over everyone. The saloon went quiet. His voice came slow, rough, and dangerous. You want to bet? A hush fell like a stone in water. Silas pointed a thick finger at Tom. I'll do you one better. He took a breath. Every man leaned forward. I'll marry her. The room exploded. Chairs scraped. Drinks spilled. Men shouted. He's drunk. He said marry. Before Christmas, I bet. Silas slammed his empty glass on the bar and walked out into the freezing night. The cold hit him like a slap, clearing his head just enough to realize what he'd done. He'd made a public promise. A stupid, pride-soaked, whiskey-fueled promise. He walked to his horse, gripping her reins with shaky hands. May have fooled myself tonight, he muttered. A damn fool. He rode home through the dark, snow starting to fall around him. His cabin felt colder than usual when he stepped inside. He lit a lamp and sat on his narrow bed, staring at the wooden ceiling. Why did he say it? Because they laughed at her. Because she had strength those men couldn't see. Because no one deserved to be made a joke. He closed his eyes and whispered into the cold room, I'll make it right somehow. Meanwhile, in Cedar Falls the next morning, Abigail Thompson stood behind the counter of her general store, tallying receipts. Her brown eyes scanned the ledger with calm focus. She wore a dark green dress she'd sewn herself, and her hair was pinned neatly at the back. The bell above the door chimed. In walked two women, Mrs. Hutchinson and Mrs. Pike, faces bright with gossip. "Oh, Abigail," Mrs. Hutchinson said dramatically. "Have you heard about last night?" "I don't visit saloons," Abigail replied, stepping around him to fix a stack of fabric. Mrs. Pike leaned forward. "It's about you." Abigail paused. "That mountain man, Silas McGrath," Mrs. Hutchinson whispered, unable to hold it in. "He said he's going to marry you." The store went silent. Abigail's hand tightened on the bolt of cloth. Mrs. Pike added quickly, "It was a bet, a cruel joke. The men were drunk." Abigail nodded slowly. "I see." Her face remained calm, but inside something cracked. A bet. Her life tossed around for entertainment. After the women left, Abigail walked to the back room and opened her mother's old diary. She found a familiar line written in faded ink. "Your worth isn't measured by your size, but by your spirit. The right man will see you." She breathed in deeply. Then she stood tall. If the mountain man thought she was a joke, he was wrong. She changed into her best burgundy dress, pinned her hair in an elegant twist, and stepped outside. Cedar Falls whispered as she marched through town with her chin high. Silas McGrath had made a bet on her life. Now he would learn who she really was. Snow still dusted the rooftops of Cedar Falls when Silas McGrath rode into town the next morning. His head throbbed from whiskey, and regret sat heavy in his stomach. The moment he stepped onto Main Street, he felt eyes on him. People nudged each other. The whispers had spread like wildfire. Jake Murphy was waiting at the saloon door, arms crossed. "Silas, you made one hell of a mess last night." "I know," Silas muttered. "I need to fix it." "Then go talk to the woman you dragged into your foolishness," Jake replied, "and pray she doesn't throw a frying pan at you." Silas didn't argue. He walked straight down the street toward the general store. Every step felt heavier than the last. His boots thudded on the wooden boardwalk as the bell above the door chimed. Abigail Thompson stood behind the counter, her burgundy dress catching the morning light. Her hair was pinned neatly, and her chin lifted with calm pride. She didn't look up when the door opened. "I'll be with you in a moment," she said. Silas removed his hat, holding it against his chest. "Miss Thompson, I came to apologize." She lifted her gaze at last. Her eyes were steady, deep brown with flecks of gold, like warm bourbon catching firelight. Silas had seen her many times before, but had never truly seen her until now. "Mr. McGrath," she said with quiet strength, "I assume you're here because of the bet." His stomach twisted. "Yes, ma'am. I was drunk and stupid. I let those men push me into nonsense. I'm real sorry for disrespecting you." Abigail walked around the counter, stopping a few feet from him. She moved gracefully despite the gossip that claimed otherwise. Her dress brushed the wooden floor with a soft whisper. "Tell me, Mr. McGrath," she said, folding her hands. "How exactly do you plan to make this right?" Silas swallowed hard. "I figured I'd tell the town it was drink talk. Pay off the bets. Call it done." "And then what?" she asked. "They'll just find another reason to laugh at me. Another name to call me. Another story to share over whiskey." Her voice didn't tremble. It was steady as stone. "Do you know what they call me?" she asked. Silas stared at the floor. "Yes." "Say it." He shook his head. "Say it," she repeated. "Big Abigail," he whispered. "Hefty Abby, the Thompson Cow." She nodded. "I've heard those names for years. I've faced them alone. But last night, you made me a bigger joke than ever before." He stiffened. "I'm sorry." "Sorry," she echoed softly. "A fine word, Mr. McGrath, but it doesn't erase the damage." She stepped closer, and Silas felt himself straighten like a schoolboy facing a stern teacher. "Tell me something honest," she said. "Are you a man of your word?" Silas didn't hesitate. "I am." "Good," she said. "Then I have a proposal." "A proposal?" he repeated slowly. She crossed her arms. "You declared you'd marry me. The town heard it. If you back out, it will make you a coward, and it will make me an even bigger joke." Silas clenched his jaw. "That ain't what I want." "Then prove it," she said. "Court me?" Silas blinked. "What?" "You heard me. Court me properly for 1 month. Walk with me. Take me to dinner. Attend Sunday service with me. Show this town that I'm not some punchline, but a woman worthy of being courted. He stared at her in disbelief. You want me to court you after what I did? What I want, she said, her voice lowering, is to be treated with dignity, even if it's only for a month. Silas rubbed the back of his neck. If we do this, I'd do it honest, not pretend. She looked at him carefully. Honest? Yes, ma'am. I may be stubborn and foolish, but I don't play games with a woman's heart. For the first time, something softened in her eyes. Then we have a deal, she said, extending her hand. 1 month of proper courtship. Silas hesitated only a second before taking her hand. Her palm was warm and steady. 1 month, he agreed. Good, she said. Now, Mr. McGrath, if I'm not mistaken, custom says you should ask me to dinner. He cleared his throat. Miss Thompson, would you do me the honor of dining with me tomorrow evening? I would be delighted, she replied. 6 o'clock. Silas nodded and turned to leave, but paused at the door. Miss Thompson, why agree to this? She looked down at her ledger, then back up at him. Because I'm tired of being alone, Mr. McGrath. If all I get is 1 month of being treated like a woman worth choosing, then that's more than I've had in years. Silas swallowed hard. Tomorrow, then? Tomorrow. As he stepped outside, Tom Garrett strutted down the boardwalk, smirking. She throw you out? Silas turned slowly, towering over him. No, we're having dinner tomorrow. Tom's smirk vanished. You're serious? Silas stepped close. Tom, next time you make sport of a woman in my presence, you'll answer to me. Tom backed away fast. Silas mounted his horse and rode toward the mountains. The cold air stung his skin, but his mind was burning. He had 1 month to make things right. 1 month to show the town who Abigail Thompson truly was. 1 month to prove he was better than a drunken bet. As he rode home, he kept seeing her eyes. Strong, dignified, hurt, hopeful. For the first time, Silas wondered if 1 month might not be enough. The next afternoon, Cedar Falls buzzed like a kicked anthill. People peeked from windows. Men paused mid-hammer. Women leaned out of doorways, pretending to sweep. Everyone was waiting to see if Silas McGrath would show up for dinner with the fattest woman in town. He did, right at 6 o'clock. Silas walked up the hotel dining room, wearing a clean shirt, brushed hair, and a beard trimmed as neat as he could manage. Abigail stood waiting inside, wearing a soft blue dress that made her brown eyes shine. Even the waiter stared a moment too long. Silas offered his arm. Evening, Miss Thompson. Good evening, Mr. McGrath. When she placed her hand on his arm, the whole room fell silent. Forks froze midair. Chairs stopped squeaking. Someone whispered loud enough for both of them to hear. He's actually doing it. He's really courting her. Silas ignored them. Tonight was about her. Tonight, he would show her the respect she deserved. He held her chair. He ordered her meal first. He listened when she spoke. He tried not to stare, but he couldn't help it. Abigail looked beautiful. Not in a way townfolk define beauty, but in a way that felt warm and real, like a sunrise on the mountain after a long winter. The first dinner led to another, then a walk through the snow-lined streets after Sunday church, then evenings where they sat on the bench outside her store, sharing stories no one else bothered to hear. The town watched as something unexpected happened. They didn't just pretend to court. They began to fall for each other. Silas found himself looking forward to every moment with her. The way she laughed softly at his awkward compliments. The way her cheeks flushed in the cold. The way she seemed to see right through his rough exterior. Abigail found her heart softening too. Silas wasn't like other men. His words were simple but honest. His actions were careful, respectful. He looked at her like she wasn't a joke. Like she wasn't too big. Like she wasn't something to laugh at. He looked at her like she was a woman. One afternoon near the end of their month, Silas hesitated before knocking on her door. He cleared his throat, suddenly nervous. Miss Thompson, I want to show you something. He took her up the mountain to his cabin. Abigail tightened her cloak as cold winds swirled around them. She expected a messy bachelor shack. Instead, she found a warm fire, shelves neatly arranged, a bed freshly made, and pine boughs set across the mantel. You cleaned, she said softly. Silas shrugged shyly. Figured you shouldn't see the place in its usual state. She touched the pine boughs. It's lovely. They sat by the fire, eating venison stew he had cooked himself. He watched her as she savored each bite. I know this life is rough, he said, but I'd like to share it with someone. With you. Her breath caught. Silas. I know I messed up at the start, he said. But courting you, it became real for me. You became real for me. Abigail felt her heart thump. Do you mean that? I do, he said. I want to marry you proper. Not for a bet, not for a joke. For us. Tears filled her eyes. Silas, I never thought anyone would see me. I see you, he said simply. Always have. Just too damn foolish to admit it. She reached for his hand. Then yes. Yes, Silas. I'll marry you. Their wedding came on December 15th. Snow fell soft and slow. The little church swelled with people. Some curious, some supportive, some still shocked this wasn't just a joke anymore. Abigail walked down the aisle in her mother's ivory dress, and every head turned. Whispering stopped. Even the cruelest gossip stared, not laughing now, but stunned. She wasn't the town's punchline that day. She was a bride. Silas stood at the front, looking at her like she carried the sun in her hands. When she reached him, he whispered, You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Her voice trembled. And you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Reverend Mills spoke of redemption, unexpected blessings, and love found in wild places. When the vows came, Silas took her hands gently. I vow to see you every day for who you truly are, to protect you, to honor you, to never let the world make you feel small again. Abigail sniffed softly, tears streaming. I vow to stand beside you, to share your quiet life, to give you the love and loyalty you've never known, and to walk these mountains with you for however long God gives us. When they kissed, the whole church erupted in cheers. Even the doubters felt something warm stir in their hearts. It wasn't a joke anymore. It was love. True, strong mountain love. Married life on a mountain was not easy, but it was full of laughter, warmth, and partnership. Abigail brought order, comfort, and beauty to the cabin. Silas taught her the ways of the wilderness. They read by firelight. They walked in snow-quiet forests. They built a home together, one small task at a time. When a sudden storm months later nearly took Silas's life, Abigail fought like a lion to save him. She set his broken arm, tended his fever, and never left his side. You saved me, he whispered when the fever broke. You saved me first, she answered. By the time spring arrived, their love had woven itself into mountain, strong as the roots of the tallest pine. When they walked into Cedar Falls for Easter service, hand in hand, people didn't whisper mockery anymore. They whispered awe. The woman they once laughed at now walked with confidence. The mountain man who once lived alone now smiled openly. And together, they looked like something rare and powerful. Two lonely souls who found exactly what they needed in each other. Abigail looked up at Silas as they left the church. Any regrets? She teased. Only one, he said, pulling her close. That we didn't find each other sooner. She kissed him softly. Then we have the rest of our lives to make up for it. And together they walked back toward the mountains, where their home waited, warm of firelight, and filled with the quiet, steady love that grew from the unlikeliest beginning. A cruel bet, a hurtful night, and the moment two hearts chose to see each other clearly for the first time.